I'm a 49-year-old man, and I truly wish that I would have understood relationship dynamics a few decades ago. There was a complete lack of resources for men about female nature back in the past, and even today. While there is plenty of content, it needs to be discovered. Society has successfully programmed us men to idealize relationships and marriage. I'm a 49-year-old American guy, a professional airline pilot, and was married to a Brazilian girl and living in Brazil while going out to other countries for long work assignments. I took a job in Middle East, and her and the 2 young kids came out to live there as many people do, and have a good lifestyle. After 6 months in the desert, she could not handle the life there and all the cultural differences of living in the country. We made a deal that she would go back to Brazil with the kids and go to school and get an education, and I would commute back and forth for a few years. This plan would put us in a good position for the future and be all in one place one day with great career positions. I worked as an airline captain and sent my money home for the wife to become a psychologist. They lived in a gated community, house with a pool, and the kids had tennis lessons, piano lessons, private school, and we had a maid and a gardener. Life was good for them, except I didn't have many days every month to be with them, but I was doing it for the future. She went to college and worked on her degree, and I worked out of the Middle East and came home on a 14-hour flight out once a month, which admittedly was not enough. Many times, alone in the Middle East, I would get frustrated with the lack of time to see everybody and had the desire to just quit and walk away. And every time, she calmed me down, telling me to relax, that we needed to follow the plan, and we could really enjoy the results afterwards. Fast forward a few years, I got a detached retina, and after 2 eye surgeries, experienced permanent damage and effectively blind in one eye. Got terminated from my Middle Eastern employer where I was working. My wife got her real estate license and went to work selling real estate back in Brazil while I was still in Middle East to complete the eye surgeries in order to have an income. To complicate matters, it was early 2020 and the pandemic lockdowns and the associated chaos were right around the corner. Things were not looking good for me and medical bills were piling up, and I was not making an income anymore. I started a process to get a job flying in the US, which allows for a pilot to fly with one operating eye if he or she can pass the flight test, thus proving ability despite the handicap. Most foreign jobs do not have an allowance in their regulations for this. I succeeded in gaining my license back by proving my ability to operate a big airplane with the handicap, and locked in a job at any excellent company in the US, one in which I could stay for the rest of my career. It was a major come from behind recovery to a bad situation, and I knew the financial difficulties would eventually be over. Meanwhile, my wife was showing houses to people back in Brazil and was seduced and started sleeping with one of her clients. He filled her ears with many promises that he loved her, that she should get divorced if she wasn't happy with me, and that she would be his woman. Of course, I didn't know anything about any of this. All I knew is that I came home from the Middle East and having done the test to get my license back and was enthusiastic for the future and for my family. That was until I walked in the door and saw the cold and emotionless way she looked at me. Within hours, she told me she was tired of being alone with the kids and for me to always be gone. Remember, it was her that pushed this arrangement to better our circumstances in the future, but now it was my fault for being absent, and she wanted a divorce, and I knew nothing about the man she had fallen for and had arranged to take over. Not knowing about the other man, I pleaded to her to consider that I had been doing a sacrifice for our family and that we had agreed to it, and now I was being penalized for following the plan. I was able to get her to agree to a 1-month period of reflection in order to think about what this would do to the family and to understand that things were about to change for the better. 1 month went by and her answer was, "I don't know." So I was left with no choice but to file for divorce. I was devastated, yet I still do not know about her affair and secret arrangement to replace me. With a heavy heart and in a state of absolute depression, I went to the US and started training for a new career. While I had worked overseas for many years in my profession, this job was actually the job I had sought for many years. It would be almost a year before I passed the probationary period and started to make good money, but my career was saved. And not only saved, it was greatly improved. I had come from a major setback to a major improvement from previous circumstances. I was sure that she would be eventually persuaded to see how good things would be, and that she would drop all this. But I went ahead with the divorce. The divorce was completed, and I was working from the US, but coming to see the kids every month. It was not easy on me. Slowly, I began to hear the details that were previously hidden from me. The guy she fell in love with, once she was freshly divorced and seeking his full long-term commitment, as he had promised, turned out to be a player, and he ended up ghosting her. He left her completely on the curb, having destroyed her family and losing marriage to a devoted father and husband. I had really loved her and had made that simple mistake of keeping her on a pedestal for the entire 12 years we had been together. Luckily, all this information came to me. I was aware that she believed my career and therefore earning potential were permanently obliterated, rather than only sidetracked for the medium term. She had dumped me like a hot potato for the first guy who promised her the world, and she fell for it completely and destroyed everything. By the time she started to come crawling back, I was aware of everything, and I was freshly educated with a lot of red pill content on YouTube and Reddit. If I had not have educated myself from the collective wisdom of many similar stories, I would have forgiven her and done some sort of compromise, such as therapy, counseling, reconciliation, even having known it was due to an affair. But I learned that there is no going back from this type of female behavior. Cheating, requesting open relationships, and all of these things are offenses that permanently invalidate a relationship, and there is no repairing what she has broken beyond repair. I learned that I had to stop putting her on a pedestal and to learn to value myself. I had previously only valued myself as a strong provider and doting husband and father, but I had not loved myself to not be okay with everything. Thankfully, I became red pill aware just in time to not want to get to be back in. It hurt the kids tremendously, and for this, I have lingering anger at her selfishness. But I have no regrets about being single today and having my own integrity. I am a better person, and I am less deluded, and will keep my bond with my children through the difficult times. She has already had 3 or 4 relationships since then, and she keeps getting used and discarded. Nobody wants a woman who has hit the wall and who has kids, but she is pretty and good for getting it in, as you say. These days, she is falling into a self-defeating cycle, and I am working on myself and doing everything I can to be an excellent provider for my kids and to make it up to them for what they had to go through and hope that they will understand in the future. The kids are the victims. I am not the victim. I was a white knight who pedestalized a woman to the extent that she did not respect me and even assumed her next man would be like me. Her education is an ongoing that is not the case, and that there is no going back to the good deal that she had. I will never be happy for what the kids had to go through, but I have completely recovered from the ordeal and have learned things I wish I knew when I was in my 20s. That's about it. I am doing well and do not need a woman to base my happiness on, but she sure as heck seems to think having the right man to attach to her is her success, just as it might be impossible to find now. Also, only a very lovely figure is starting to plump up, and I noticed her profile photos are starting to use the downward angle selfie to hide her weight gain. She will get run through all she wants, but she will never have what she had with me ever again. I, on the other hand, could easily date girls in their 20s when I am down in Brazil to visit my kids, but I choose not to. I don't need the headaches. I don't know if I am on a permanent break from relationships. I don't believe renting is a viable strategy either. That leaves me with just being a good dad, trying to be a better person and living my life to the best. Just hashing out the basic story has really helped me gain even more perspective. While her wanting divorce seemed like the end of the world for me back in time, today it seems like as if it was a gift. Thank you for watching. Like, Comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Until next time, I'll see you again. Take care.